Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get the rifle. Oh, to get update and get informed. Oh, come to Celestia Half Hour. Celestia Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier.
In hungry for power, Amechi spoke to Charles Anyagolo on Arise Prime Time. He also mocked Wike's perceived self-made image, stating that Wike made himself chief of staff, made himself governor, made himself minister, and made himself local government chairman. Let's take a look.
That man that says he made governor, how did you make this man governor? Right. Nobody has ever asked that question. Two,
so how did you become governor then?
I don't know. I went to court. Latif Pabemi is my lawyer. He's not the Attorney General, so you should ask. So that's one thing that needs to be made very, very clear. Two, it is not true that I called him Mohammed Bello Adoke, flew all the way from Abuja to Port Harcourt, that Wike asked me to make him commissioner for finance. And I said, no, he has to work under me. I want him as chief of staff so I can supervise him. I didn't offer him commissioner for finance. You see, I'm saying this because I don't want to join issues with children. Sure. I don't want to join issues with children.
Rufai will say violence. I don't want to join issues with children. I actually heard you this morning say, no, that's not true. Wike is not a child. But I'd like for you to address, some of the comments he made right there, trying to give us the background history of how Wike got into power.
Well, he was just saying basically that he was somebody that he employed. Well, I don't know whether I should refer to him as his personal employee, because in the recent, if you construct it, Wike as chief of staff to the governor was invariably serving the people of Rivers State. It was government. It was Rivers State government, not, working for Amechi in his personal capacity. All of them were serving the state. But he made a point about appointment. Usually when people are looking for appointments, when they know that this man is going to win, they will start lobbying. So, and he said that, well, Wike was interested in the position of Commissioner of Finance, but that he thought he should make him chief of staff so that he will be able to supervise him. And I said, saying this man is not good enough for Commissioner of Finance, let him be his chief of staff so that I can supervise him. It's a very mischievous innuendo. I don't want to explain the nature of the innuendo. Other people can stretch it out.
Explain.
I say it's an innuendo.
Litigation. Explain. You're a lawyer.
Well, it's an innuendo. Let's leave it at that. In other words, anyway. But he also says, he would rather not talk about Wike, because you see that throughout that interview, he didn't mention his name once. He said, I don't want to join issues with him. It's beneath him to be expanding insults in the public space with somebody who won't serve him. And he made a point about character, which we were saying yesterday, that look, this man never acknowledges anybody that ever did him a favor. In other words, he was saying, this is just, a transactional character. He will use you, dump you, move on. If it is convenient, he comes back to you. And then he addressed the issue about, how he became governor. And he said it was God, it was the judiciary, it was Sir Peter Odili, and then the people of Rivers State. But I said earlier that he raised more cogent points beyond his, a thief with Nyesom Wike. The point about the fact that he wants the president of Nigeria, President Tinubu, to give a proper accounting with regard to fuel subsidy savings. There are people who have been saying that. And I said, President Tinubu has explained that states have more money, debts have been paid, but perhaps, greater transparency that he's asking for. Maybe nobody can argue about that. He says INEC is not above board. And that, political coalitions are finding it very difficult to register political parties and the conditions. And he compared the present INEC chairman to former chairman Maurice Iwu. Three, he said that this government does not respect the rule of law. But specifically, he was talking about the situation in Rivers State with regard to the declaration of a state of emergency. But we saw Governor Fubara, visiting in the spirit of Salah celebrations, the president of Nigeria. And I was imagining that this should be an opportunity for him to further plead with the president that the 6 months should not extend beyond 6 months, particularly now that the sole administrator is behaving as if he wants to sit tight.
That's right. Let me take that story that you can. But I mean, that was a good interview with Charles Onyagula. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Advise our viewers to watch it on our YouTube channel. Well, in the meantime, reactions have trailed the visit by the suspended governor of Rivers State, Similaye Fubara, to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu at his residence in Lagos on Tuesday. The visit comes less than a week after Fubara stated his intention to put aside pride and personal interest to restore peace in Rivers State and reconcile with his predecessor, FCT Minister Nyesom Wike, whom he refers to as his boss. The details of the meeting were not immediately disclosed. This is their first public meeting since President Tinubu declared state of emergency in Rivers State on March 18th and suspended the governor. Well, let's take a look at some reactions. This is from EJ Tweet. Found this reaction funny. He says, "Is Governor Wike aware?" Is Wike aware, the minister? Well, politicians will always do political things. I made videos calling for the legal suspension to be lifted. And Fubara is smiling with Tinubu. Politics is just a game. Good luck to both of them, Rivers and Nigeria. Well, Amechi wrote, Governor Fubara's Lagos visit to President Tinubu hints a strategic move amidst Rivers State's political storm, with Wike's shadow looming. Fubara might be rethinking alliances. Sometimes in politics, if you can't beat them, join them. And you know that we saw a lot of these comments online. When we saw that picture, we're like, hey, state capture. I mean, those are some of the comments. But your thoughts on the visit by Fubara?
You know, earlier in the program, I said, for me personally, I thought the optics were unfortunate because this is an elected official.
Yes. And,
you know, we know that the assumption around it is that he's going to beg and plead. Mm-hmm. Now, if you remember in the month or so leading up to the state of emergency, the president had said that Governor Fubara should just stoop to conquer.
Yes.
That had been his very decisive advice to him. And well, we see he's finally taking the advice and it's bearing fruit. And it's unfortunate that, you know, politicians will always do what it takes to stay in power or to claim power. It's around power. And where is the will of the people in all of this? Where is the accountability to the people who voted for him? The past 2 years have been stagnant in terms of development in Rivers State because it's been one political issue after the other. However, if you look at it from a political strategy perspective, especially after the statements we saw from the minister at the FCT at the beginning of the week, where he will deliver Rivers State, almost as the alpha and omega of the Rivers State. Well, this is President Tinubu also just reminding him that there's not one alpha and omega in Rivers State. Yes. Don't forget that there's somebody waiting in the corridors of power who's sitting at the throne currently, and based on that might be able to also check and balance your own influence in the state. So, gosh, it's all games that are being played. My heart just bleeds for the people of Rivers State who still need governance.
Rivers State. I mean, Rufai, we did see Governor Wike, I believe it was last month, actually accusing Arise TV of deceiving the governor and making him think that he was... Yes.
He said that?
Live television. He said
really?
It. Yes, he
Arise
did.
TV?
Yes, that he was deceived to... No.
There's no way we could have deceived us.
I was wondering who did. Go ahead.
I don't know, because I mean, the governor should have a mind of his own. So so you say we deceived the governor. We're probably giving us too much metaphysical power.
Yeah.
So how can we deceive?
What do you make of the optics there, though?
It's a very wrong optics.
Yes.
You know what the optics reminds me of? It was just like Miranda in Lagos State singing and thanking them after she was pulled out of office. This is bad optics for democracy. Let's call it spade a spade. In fact, this is one of the saddest days for democracy with these optics. A president that committed a constitutional aberration took an elected governor out by the people, trounced on the rights of an elected governor. And you, Fubara, because you want the power so much, you are going to beg. How much will you beg? So people like this, when they slap you, when they cut your head, you will beg.
But you know, he did say that he wants peace.
What
so
peace?
He's trying
what peace?
Yeah, that was his last comment.
What peace? What peace?
Peace for the people.
Peace.
Peace for the people.
Peace is earned through respect and war. Sometimes you have to sit down and fight. Mm-hmm. If you have to lose, you have to lose. In the end, isn't Fubara going to live there? Is he going to be governor forever?
No.
So in the end, you are still going to leave the position, rather than somebody just trounce on your right like that, and you look and you keep going to beg the same person that removed you from the mandate of the people. And you say, this is optics. And he's saying, oh, the other day he said, what did Fubara say? He said, my mind is living there. But obviously your mind has not left there. If they did state of emergency against you, what you should do is bid your time. After, if they don't give it back, so be it. But he also has something to lose, and it has shown. Oji, you need to stand for something. Why do we praise President Tinubu today as last man standing? President Tinubu, if the script were fake, would never, the President Tinubu, and I know, and I give him his respect today. I don't agree with me on many things, but I respect that man called President Tinubu. If the tables turn, the President Tinubu, I know, will never cower. And that's why I respect it. That's why it was called last man standing. He will never cower. He will never grovel.
Jagaban.
He was Jagaban.
All right.
Jagaban.
All right.
He will stand on his rights. And that's what we expected Fubara to do. You thought it was easy for President Tinubu to fight the might of the central government like Olusegun Obasanjo and the character like Olusegun Obasanjo then. It wasn't easy for him, but he stood his ground. You thought it was easy for him to stay in opposition all these years and fight the might of the PDP before he finally gained one against him. Give him his credit. I'm giving him his credit when it doesn't mean I will not criticize him tomorrow. I'm giving him his credit today.
Right.
If the tables were turned, President Tinubu will not do this. It's Tinubu, I know, and that's why I respect him.
In any case, we don't have a readout of the content of their meeting. We are just assuming that given the circumstances in Rivers State and the declaration of state of emergency, that the reason he went there to see President Tinubu, first time we will see the two of them together since this crisis began. So we assume that you cannot leave the place without talking about the state of emergency. Suppose he just went there to just greet the president in the spirit of Salah, and maybe Rivers state of emergency was not discussed. But okay, you can say it's the unspoken subtext.
Right.
I mean, you can't just go, I hear you're in Lagos, sir.
There's a story that he went to London too now, so, and there was this Gobale thing going on.
We don't have a
as well.
readout.
Yes,
We don't have a
exactly.
readout of what transpired.
Yes.
So we can only...
As what? He's a suspended governor.
Interesting
Where is the
times.
bona fide?
He is still the governor of
In
the
fact,
people.
do you know how many
Suspended
more weeks we have to wait for this suspension to be lifted? Is it already 6 months? I keep asking every
No,
time.
it's in September.
September.
The
Okay,
state
we're
of
waiting.
emergency was March 18,
So we have a few more
2025.
months to
We
go.
still have time.
Well, we'll continue to follow up on the story as always. What President Bola Ahmed Tinubu?
Is beginning to enjoy it.
Where?
Who is that?
The sole administrator.
You were going to say that.
I said it.
Wasn't it his wife that was?
You have to go and greet the president. Please, I'm still here. That man is beginning to enjoy the place.
It's a case of the Lord has done it finally. Finally. The Lord has done it.
He never expected it.
Never expected it.
Well, all right. Well, in the meantime, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu also hosted Governor Ademola Adeleke of Osun State, along with his elder brother, billionaire businessman Adedeji Adeleke, and Afrobeat superstar Davido, at his Lagos residence. Photos of the meetings have since gone viral on social media. Governor Adeleke shared the photos on his X account, stating that the visit was a courtesy call ahead of the Salah celebration. The presence of Davido at the meeting gathered significant public interest and was seen by many as a symbolic moment of unity and intergeneration bridging. Some described the meeting as reflective of President Tinubu's inclusive approach to engaging with leaders across political divide. And this is what Rufai was talking about Tinubu and the way that he handles his politics. We know that Governor Adeleke is of the PDP, but he has absolutely maintained a cordial relationship with the presidency. This picture has sparked a lot of reactions online. Dr. Abati.
No, talking about optics again.
Yes.
We may just apply the same rule about assumptions that we, applied to the case of Fubara, governor of Rivers State, in Osun State case.
Yes.
Now, Osun State has a major issue with the federal government of
Correct.
Nigeria. The federal government of Nigeria has withheld local government allocations to Osun State for the months of April, May, June. And Osun State has since gone to the Supreme Court to say that in the light of Section 162 of the Constitution, although there is also another Supreme Court judgment, that the federal government cannot withhold allocations to Osun State local councils. The issue is about, is it the APC that is the legitimate, that provides the legitimate council chairman, or is it the PDP, the November 22 local government election, or the 2025 local council election organized by the PDP under Governor Adeleke? The matter went to the Court of Appeal. Now, different interpretations on both sides as to who should be the legitimate local council chairman. So he also has a matter that he will just carry his elder brother, take his nephew, and in the spirit of Salah, you know, they said they went there, courtesy call for Salah.
Yes.
Now, I don't know whether the issue of that local council thing came up. What the AGF for Osun State is citing is the AGF Lagos State versus AG Lagos versus AG Federation in 2004, which involved Governor Tinubu as he then was. And at that time, APC, that is in Edo State, right?
Yeah.
Very similar to what you have in Osun. In Edo State, the federal government did not withhold allocations to local councils in Edo State. So, but we don't have a readout, we don't have a statement that this is what they discussed. It's supposed to just be Salah visit. And a lot of people will be going to visit the president for Salah. Now, finally, I also imagine that in the spirit of Salah, I don't know whether Governor Adeleke got a chance to teach the president some dance steps.
How did you know? That was what I was going to ask. I was exactly going to
Because the president too has been dancing. Maybe they should have taken the opportunity.
With Davido in their
With
midst.
Davido, they have to teach the president some steps.
And he'll be like, then go feel it.
I just want to ask, do you know maybe when was it a reportage or somewhere around it this time last year? Did Fubara go to visit President Tinubu last year?
Something about him going to London.
To London, yes. That's what I said earlier.
I'm saying, did he go last year to visit President Tinubu around
in Lagos?
Oh, you mean during the Salah thing?
The report I saw was that he went to see him in London.
No,
I'm
he's
saying
talking about the
last
Salah.
year.
No, that didn't happen. We don't have a report.
Anyway, during Salah period, all the governors,
But did it happen
they all
last
come
year?
around. They will soon carry themselves in a
No,
big bus
Dr. Abati, the
and come
question I asked, did it happen
pay
last
homage.
year? Did he
He said he doesn't know now.
Well, I
Fine.
don't have
Let's
the
move on.
information.
Let's move on
Okay,
with
just
that.
ask
But I mean, I just thought it was a fun visit with the Davido and the Adele case there.
You don't have insider information.
I need it. I need to. I don't have
Oh,
it.
okay.
I mean, at first, when I saw the pictures, I was like, hey, Emma Bamike.
No, but Davido was with the president
But
last
Davido
week,
was with the
Abuja.
president. So hopefully he was the one who organized the meeting. It was nice to see. And I'd love to see a video. If there was who's that guy? Cubana chief priest there will have been videos flying around. Well, all right. Kudos, Governor Ademola Adeleke and Davido. Well, in another development, Senator Orji Uzor Kalu has accused some Nigerian politicians, wealthy businessmen, and senior civil servants of sponsoring Boko Haram to destabilize President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration. Kalu made the claims during a televised interview, stating that these individuals are using terrorism as a tool to fight Tinubu and seize political power, similar to their actions against previous governments. Let's take a look.
People, political class are bringing Boko Haram. Political class are bringing terrorism to fight Bola Tinubu, to fight Buhari, to fight people. They are the one bringing these things. It's the political war that causing all these things. People want power. They want to destroy the whole system to grab power. And you don't grab power this way. Politicians and businessmen and civil servants, people who are dissatisfied with the running of government, people who want to grab power. You just hear what so many people say. People, some of them are not looking for money. Some of them are looking for political power to hold it. So we are friends, as I told you before. I want all of us to behave like friends. If we are friends, we should think about the man down the line. We should be able to lift Nigerians up.
Orji Uzor Kalu has been talking a lot lately. I mean, now we are seeing him. He's not the first politician who has accused politicians and, you know, wealthy businessmen of sponsoring Boko Haram. But this rhetoric is quite old. I mean, this is not the sort of engagement that we want to keep hearing. We need to find out who they are. If they are, provide proof. I mean, just stop saying it, just blanket statements like that. Dr. Abati, I'd like for your comment before I take this story in Delta State on this.
No, you've already hit the nail on the head by saying that, look, we have been hearing this over and over again, that certain influential persons are behind Boko Haram and that they sponsor Boko Haram, and there are persons who even ethnicize it. That Boko Haram seems to flower when any Southerner is in power. Just as you only have frenetic coalition politics when the Southerner is president. You know, when a Northerner is there, you don't hear any coalition to remove the Northerner from power. So you have these, you know, speculations. Don't let us be categorical. But the thing is that in a country that has intelligence agencies, it should be possible for people to be identified. Who are those powerful people behind Boko Haram? Who are the people sponsoring them? We have the financial intelligence unit. They track, you know, a movement of illicit international financial flow. There's something like that, and there's a structure for that. Okay, why can't they identify those people that pass money to the insurgents, to the bandits, to the terrorists? And why, is it that the other security agencies have not been able to identify these sponsors? Otherwise, it will amount to scaremongering.
Yes, this is what
Nigerians want is peace, security. They want to be able to sleep with two eyes closed, whether it's in Maiduguri or in the Middle Belt or in Owerri, in Imo State, or where's that village? In Cross River State. Yeah. So that we can all feel very secure in this environment.
That's all we need. Security.
All this some people are sponsoring, some people are sponsoring. Are those people ghosts? Identify them and bring them to task for their criminality.
Absolutely. Well, in the meantime, speaking about security, tensions escalated in Abraka, Delta State on Monday as security agents allegedly opened fire on unarmed residents protesting a surge in kidnappings that has rocked the university town. The protest, now in its 6th consecutive day, had remained peaceful until the arrival of heavy armed security personnel, including soldiers and police officers. Eyewitnesses say the agents fired warning shots in an attempt to disperse the crowd, sparking panic and injuries. Let's take a look. This is unfortunate. The right to protest, like we always say on this table, is our fundamental right. I mean, these students from different schools, they've been protesting the spate of kidnappings. Instead of our security forces to help them or even secure them or try to, speak with them, you shoot. Thankfully, there's not been any reported deaths, Vimbai.
I mean, unarmed young people who are protesting for a very a very deserving cause. This is sad to see, especially as we're talking about insecurity. We're speaking earlier. We spoke about how the Chief of Army Staff is having to relocate from different places in the country to other places because he needs to be closer to the theater of where things are actually happening. And then you have some bad apples in the military service who are misbehaving in this way. I know Dr. Abasi earlier had made the point that, well, it seems they're less busy. If they're less busy, they should take them, they're trigger happy, right? Yes. So they should take them right to the theater of war where the action is happening so they can fire these bullets to the people who deserve to receive them. But this is totally unethical. This is unfair. We really need to review our culture around how we address protests because it's turning into a culture. It's repetitive. We see it in different places at different degrees, but it's there to the point that many people are now afraid to protest. And that is not a mark of a thriving democracy. However, I do hope that the necessary hierarchy in the military have noted this, that these soldiers will be disciplined. We know that the army is all about discipline and following the code of conduct. And, if they are less busy, like I said, take them to various areas. We have a list of places where they can go and be kept very actively engaged and they can fire bullets and, if that's what really excites them, because this is not fair.
Well said, Vimbai. We await a response from the army. Our students need protection.
Those soldiers should recognize that the right to protest
is
a constitutional right.
Yes.
Number two, why are we always using soldiers to do police work? When you use soldiers to do police work, a soldier will not waste bullet too. They will tell you that a bullet is very expensive. They are trained to kill, not to maim people. The police should be allowed to do their work. And finally, the Chief of Army Staff, who is fighting terror and leading from the front, should identify those soldiers.
Absolutely.
I recommend that they should be posted to Benue or to Sambisa Forest or to go and fight Iswa, since they like to carry guns and harass people. Let them go and fight in real battle, not disturbing students who are exercising their constitutional rights.
Constitutional right. We'll take another story now. The scheduled arraignment for Senator representing Kogi Central, Natasha Akpoti-Uduaghan, which was set for Tuesday, June 3rd, has been stalled by the Judiciary Staff Union of Nigeria's Strike Action. Akpoti-Uduaghan was set to be arraigned before the Federal High Court on charges of criminal defamation filed by the federal government. The charges accuse Akpoti Uduaghan of making defamatory statements during a live television program on April 3rd, 2025. She's alleged to have claimed that Senate President Godswill Akpabio and former Kogi State Governor Yahaya Bello discussed plans to assassinate her. Akpoti Uduaghan doubled down on her claims in a recent interview, stating that her suspension from the Nigerian Senate was prescripted, politically motivated, and designed to silence her. She also claimed that Senate President Godswill Akpabio asked her to harass ministers and heads of agencies in exchange for kickbacks and favors for his personal benefit. She spoke with Adiola Faihun. Let's take a look.
So at one of those gatherings, he then went, Senator Uduaghan, you haven't reported progress. And I was like, reported progress? He said, yes, that I'm supposed to report progress. So I said, okay, give me a few days, I'll report progress. He said, fine. So I went later on, made a PowerPoint presentation of my activities as the chair then, the meetings we've held, the timeline of events, the action plans. And then I went back to him and I was like, okay, sir, I'm ready to tender my progress report. And then he went, okay, where is it? And then I opened my laptop and I was like, okay, this is it. And he laughed. And I was like, oh, why are you laughing, sir? He said, don't I know the meaning of reporting progress? And I said, I thought it's to give you a feedback on my activities so far. And then he now referred me to a senior senator. He said, why don't you go meet this person? I later on went to the Senate president. I was like, sir, I understand what report progress means, but unfortunately, I can't do that. I also told my husband that. I was like, wow, so it means it's more like you extort or harass so that you can pacify or parley the Senate president in order to keep your position. So I didn't do that. And he later a number of times, he was like, Natasha, if you don't know how to harass the chairman, that means you don't, if you don't know how to harass the ministers, that and the executive secretary of local content, that means you're not capable of running the committee. So that means to the Senate president, Akpabio, deliverables are not tied to objectivity and performance. It's more like what returns come to him.
All right, this is another loaded allegation by suspended Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. I mean, there's been conversation on whether or not she was allowed to grant this sort of interview. I know that there is a gag order on conversations surrounding her defamation lawsuit. I guess, since the judiciary workers' strike has been called off following the intervention of the Chief Justice of Nigeria, there will be a new date for her arraignment, and, the arraignment is still pending. But there's a lot of moving parts to some of the allegations that she made here. As we've said always, the case is in court. We'll continue to follow up on the story.
As political tensions escalate within Nigeria's political figures are meeting under various platforms with plans to unseat President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and the structure of the All Progressives Congress from Aso Rock in 2027. Less than a week ago, northern political leaders from across the 19 northern states met under the banner of the National Political Consultative Group as coalition talks intensify ahead of the 2027 presidential election. On Tuesday, Saliu Lukman, a former All Progressives Congress APC National Vice Chairman for the Northwest, who was our guest on this show, said that the Northern Political Consultative Group has been quietly unifying northern political voices and rethinking governance structures. Lukman revealed that the coalition is developing a blueprint to drive progress across the 19 northern states, but there have been some theories and questions raised by some stakeholders about the state of affairs in the nation when there is a southern president in power. Posing the question from some concerned Nigerians is the coalition really all about unseating Tinubu because he's a southerner? Another question raised is if the North is always agitated when a southerner is president. And is there a push for northern interests other than Nigeria? Joining us on this show to discuss this is Dr. Usman Bugaji, a political activist and civil society leader. Welcome to the morning show, Dr. Bugaje. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you, Abati and your team. It's my great pleasure.
Well, Dr. Bugaje, what is at stake here? Is it just northern interest or Nigerian interest? And is it true that this coalition, Northern Political Consultative and all that, do they represent, the North? Is the North monolithic? And do you think that all these efforts to Tinubu and Inec have some value?
Well, Abati, let me first say, I think they do represent the elite, the political elite in the North. But that is not really the problem. My problem with these kind of efforts is that we have consistently become superficial. And you journalists need to interrogate some of these issues beyond the North and South issue. I'm not dismissing it, but I'm saying that we have been trapped into this North and South to the extent that we have forgotten that we have a country to build, a country. Therefore, I would always want us to shift from the more conventional discussion to interrogate the issues further. And in this respect, if you permit me, I have three things that I want to draw our attention to. One, don't forget that there are many northern political elite that have moved into the APC planning to support the presidency of Bola Tinubu. Some of them, in fact, came out to make a statement that there is no vacancy in Aso Rock. This statement, I was hoping that your team should invite those who make those statements to come and say exactly what they mean. Because as far as I know, there is nothing like this in our constitution. So that statement is unconstitutional, it is undemocratic, it is unintelligible. Therefore, these are the kind of things we allow to simply spread. And in any case, it is so Chief Tony Anini actually used when he was promoting the third term of Obasanjo. I thought they would be more creative. After 20 years, they are repeating the same kind of thing over and over again. Now, let me come back to the three issues about it, and I hope you permit me to make this point before you go further. One, these people who move from one party to the other, including those who come to the coalition, there is something that we need to ask. Why is it that people easily move from the parties from which they have been elected to move to other parties and there are no consequences, even though the laws that we are supposed to operate, have made provision for these kind of consequences? One of the things that I think we need to take note of and to discuss is the fact that our parties are completely empty. They have no content, they have no conscience, they have no courage. They don't represent anything. Take the let's start with the opposition party. Take the opposition party, the biggest one, the PDP. What does it represent? When you mention PDP, what comes to your mind? What idea? Is there any idea that you can actually relate to? Is there anything that PDP represents beyond the personal interest of politicians who use the platform to grab power and then to continue doing the same kind of thing that APC is doing? The same APC, if you speak of APC, what do you see? There is no idea that I can really relate to APC. There is no particular policy, there is no particular developmental issue which they are not like talking about the environment, they are not talking about development, they are not. Basically what comes to mind when you look at the face of APC is the face of a person who has been caught on secret cameras, taking dollars and putting in his pocket. So maybe those who are moving into APC might have been attracted by those dollars or thinking that once they are there, their problems, will be solved. Personal problems, I must say. Therefore, we need to also look at the fact that the implication of all this is that we have left the politics of big ideas. We are basically stuck with the politics of big men. So we start talking of personalities moving here. What does it matter if one person moves from one party to the other if the parties are all empty? That's not the issue. The fact that there are no ideas, there is no conversation about the problems of this country. even in the coalition, I don't think they speak about the real dangers that this country is facing. The mounting insecurity, the joblessness of young people, the lack of industries to do production so that the country can be wealthy. The fact that we lose nearly 350,000 hectares every year to desert encroachment. The fact that we have got a deficit of grain of about 30 million metric tons. With the floods that happened last rainy season, I'm not sure that figure will remain there. It's most likely going to go up. You look at our other parameters, very similar to the war-torn countries like Southern Sudan, Syria, and others. Why are the politicians not speaking about these ideas? They are only speaking about, oh, we have this former governor of this, ex-vice, this and that, and this man. What does it really matter? What ideas are they carrying? What difference do they, does it make if they are in this party or they are in that party? It's the same thing that we see. So I'm not impressed with a coalition that is just out to take power from the incumbent. I would be impressed if that coalition represents an alternative to what we are having now, an alternative to the pains that this country is going through, and an alternative to this hyperinflation, an alternative to the excessive corruption, an alternative to the insecurity that is basically bringing this country down to its knees, an alternative to the escalation of cost of energy that makes it impossible for anybody to set up an industry. So these are the
very
kind
valid
of discussion
foundation.
that I expect.
Thank
and
you.
Generally, and this is my last point on that, if you please, the fact that 25 years of development has not delivered, of democracy has not delivered development. Look at all the indices. We are going down the drain. The country is getting poorer. Hunger, pain, disease, poverty is what is increasing. We must ask ourselves, what is wrong with the kind of democracy we are running? What is wrong with the kind of way we are doing things? These are the kind of conversations, honestly, about it that I think we should be engaged. I mean, if XYZ, former governor, former this, wants to be in coalition, it's his business. If he wants to be in APC, it's his business. What I care for, what does he represent? What does he want to do? How can his movement from one place to the other, really create the kind of, can create the kind of changes that we are looking forward to. Remember, this country is increasing in population. In the next 25 years, this country is going to be well over 400 million.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, if you can hear me, I'll just interject at this point. We are in conversation with Dr. Usman Bugaje. I just want to re-establish the fact that he's on the line. Okay, so you can hear me. Now, I want to go back to the genesis of this conversation, which was the ultimate question that we asked at the beginning is, why is it that there's a certain type of body language that we seem to see when a Southerner is at the helm of affairs? Now, it's been said repeatedly by various leaders from the North that nobody can be president without the North. But the irony of that statement is that a Northerner also can't be president without the support of the South. Whoever emerges president needs support from whether it be the North or the South. But why do you, the Senate President Akpabio, that the Northerners are not in support of him? Where do you think this dynamic is coming from? Because it seems to gain momentum when a Southerner is at the helm of affairs.
Okay, Madam, thank you. Ordinarily, honestly, I don't want to be dragged into this North and South nonsense. Look, this conversation about North and South is coming from the emptiness of our politics. The politicians have nothing to offer. If they have, let them put the ideas on the table. I'm going to go for a president wherever he comes from. Once he's a Nigerian, he has the ideas to fix this country. In this 21st century, we're still talking about North and South. In any case, we have tried Northern presidents, we have tried Southern presidents. What have they done? I've not seen anything. I mean, Buhari's regime was a disaster. So, and I have said so severally, many people have said so. So why should we be stuck about Akpabio? Akpabio, for goodness sake. What does he represent? Tell me. What ideas can you associate with Akpabio? What contribution has he made to the development of this country? Look at the padding in the budget. There are over 11,000, padded budget, about how many trillion? I mean, this bunch of thieves, for goodness sake, stop talking about them. Talk about ideas. How can we fix this country? Look at the population growing. Look at the lack of jobs. Look at the insecurity. Look at the inflation. Look at the bills that are mounting. How can we survive in the 21st century? We're in a competitive environment.
Okay, Dr. Bugaji, I get
please
your point.
I don't want to get into this North and South thing. Please, please.
Dr. Bugaji.
You are the journalist. You are shaping public opinion.
Dr. Bugaji.
Tell these politicians that talk about North and South, bring your ideas.
Dr. Bugaji, I hear you. Nobody, and I repeat, nobody wants to get into this back and forth dichotomy between the North and South, because it has not helped our country. When we returned to democracy, we had some level of growth under the PDP. We have lost all of that today as we speak. From a GDP of over 500 billion, we have gone to less than 200 billion. There's more hunger, more poverty. And in all fairness to what out here, if you watch the last election, we interrogated them with the facts. But you see, like you said rightly, most of these politicians have no ideas. It is just about how they can get into power for their personal gain. And I want to walk with you on this journey.
Absolutely.
But it's not that easy, because you are a lone voice. There are many people that will say otherwise. There are many people that are saying, after 4 years, power should go back to the North. It has become the convention that a general part of most parts of the country have adopted. We can't deceive ourselves. You see, you can't be insulated from your environment. Idealistically speaking, I'm on your side. But realistically speaking, our society has been engulfed with this North and South dichotomy. The question is, how can we save the people that have been inundated with this cancerous idea of region? I would like to work with you on
Very
that.
Good. Okay. I'm very happy you have raised this point, and I think this is the kind of conversation. We need to deconstruct the political debate. We need to raise issues that these politicians are not prepared to face. We need to put them on the, it doesn't matter what. Come and tell us, what does your party represent? What do you want to offer beyond the North and South kind of thing? So by engaging them, for me, there are things I do. I started, and we're going to resume, the Rescue Nigeria project. We brought in all the intellectuals, people with public service experience, politicians who feel isolated where they are, but who want to really engage in this thing. And we wanted to create a momentum. And we had started, and suddenly the elections came, people went in their different ways, everybody trying to see what he can make in different parties. And so we lost that momentum, but we have to pick it up. The more so, because at the moment, there is no platform at the national level where some of these issues can be discussed. And so I'm going back to my colleagues, Pat Otomi, Igodalo,
but Dr. Bugaji,
Jiga and others.
Dr. Bugaji, with due respect,
yes.
let me come in. And what you've just said is exactly the problem. You said you are going back to your colleagues, Pat Otomi. A lot of Nigerians still see that as elitists. They still see that as elitist. How can you permeate this conversation to an average Nigerian voter that with 5,000 naira ediboke sibe, and they tell that this person is not from your region, you should be allowed to vote? How can you permeate that even to an elite man from the south, that in the last election, all he kept on shouting is Yoruba Lukan, kept on shouting Hausa Lukan.
Okay.
So, how can we do this? Because when you speak, when we finish speaking all the English, poverty will stare at you in the face. How can we do this? That's my question, sir.
Okay. For me, there are a number of things time will not allow us to explain, but I'm engaging the youth in a number of ways. And I'm getting pockets of them, cells of them, groups of them that I'm mentoring, and we are putting this youth together to connect as young people who are going to inherit the mess of the last 25 years, and that they should be prepared. They are the major stakeholders in all this business of the next election. Because if anything goes wrong, they are going to be to suffer the most. If it goes right, they are going to be those that are going to benefit the most. And I'm doing what I'm doing. Time will not allow me to. And I do appreciate your point. But the point I'm making is that these were the people we started with. And we have a plan to go down the line, because every state was supposed to have a chapter, and women and youth were to be the core participants, in this matter. We are still on it. It's tough, but we're not giving up, and we are going to continue. If time allows, we can say more. And I'm sure in the coming 1-2 months, we are likely to be coming back to you with a team of some of these young people discussing the kind of ideas that we think politicians should be talking. We don't want to know what party you come from. We want to know what your party represents. We don't want to know whether you are from the north or the south. We want to see what plans do you have for this country. And we're going to evaluate you based on your understanding of the problems, based on the solutions you are providing to the problems of this country, not from where you come from, for goodness sake.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, before we wrap up, today is a very symbolic day, May 29, the day Nigeria returned to democratic civilian rule 26 years ago, after all that protest over June 12, call for exit of the military. How do you think we have fared in 26 years? And what's your assessment of the midterm scorecard of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu? How do you think he has fared? We started this program on that note this morning.
I think this is a legitimate issue to put on the table, and it's the right time to do so. But I find difficult to communicate when we speak, because there are no, agreed criteria for this. But ultimately, whatever the criteria used, it is the feelings and the situation in which the ordinary people live that should be the final test, for the litmus test for Bola Tinubu's administration. And for what I know, people are finding it difficult to eat. I have had series of discussion, university teachers, civil servants. There is even people working in the bank, surprisingly. Nobody's salary can last him 10 years. 10 days of the month. So people are basically struggling to survive. You cannot feed, you cannot pay the school fees of your children, you cannot find other side jobs to do. Everything is crumbling. The economy has so shrunk that there is hardly anything anybody can do. Now that for me is a disaster for these 2 years. I thought when he came with the pedigree that he has, being the Democrat, being the activist, being the organizer, the tactician, he was going to assemble the kind of team that know exactly what to do. But all the last 2 years that we have seen, he has allowed hyperinflation. It's the what do you call it? The military that we worked hard to displace, had a better management of our economy, unfortunately. Became a big issue during this last 25 years and culminated into so many other things. We thought he needed basically 6 months to 1 year to fix it. But as you have seen, it's even escalating. It's growing. The last few months, the governor of Borno has been screaming and saying that these people are taking territories and they are inching into previous areas. So what I mean is basically the last 2 years of this administration have been very much like Buhari's 8 years. They have been a disaster for the citizens of this country. Now, if you want to look at the exact thing, you started by talking about GDP. You remember Akin Adesina, the president of the African Development Bank, history after the Korean War that separated the country between the North Korea and South Korea, they had series of political regimes that were messing up. And it was the military, General Mark, that came and salvaged the situation and then started growing. See where Syria is at the moment. What I'm basically saying is that they should know if they cannot fix this country, somebody might come to fix it. I don't know how. We hope we don't go down like Somalia, we don't go down like Southern Sudan, we don't go down like other countries. But look, this thing is a very serious business, and I think they should, either come out and explain or tell people, sorry, we have tried our best, we cannot, and then simply leave. I really can't see how you cling to power, you have failed to deliver on the expectations of your people.
Okay, Dr. Bugaje, I recall though that you said in around 2015 that President Buhari brought in Fulani killers from across West Africa to come and rig elections in Nigeria. But President Tinubu says he has done much better with security, that Nigeria is a safer country today. In any case.
Abati, I don't know why you got that. I never talked about Fulani killers. Just check everything that I said. I tried to choose my words.
Okay. I thought you said people were imported.
But whatever it
is, nobody is importing anybody now.
No. I think the crisis, the economic crisis, is enough to generate. You remember this book by this black writer who wrote, I think, Fire on the Mountains. I'm trying to remember, one of the black writers. He made this statement that the most dangerous man in any society is somebody who has nothing to lose. And all we have done is to be producing these dangerous people, and this in itself is a source of insecurity. We should not be looking outside. We should be looking inside. We have generated it by the way we have decimated our political economy.
Okay, on that note, we would like to thank you very much, Dr. Usman Bugaje, for joining us.
Everybody come and see. I say come and hear. I don't carry and come. Better information, superb advertisement. We no get it right far. Oh, to get update and get informed. Come to Celestial Half Hour. Celestial Half Hour TV. Now we be the best information carrier.